Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. And and everybody else that's not welcome to the show but showed up anyways. You know who you are. We've discussed it. But here you are,
Have we?
without permission. Oh yeah. Oh no. They know. They know exactly who they are. It's Neil. Hi. How you boys doing?
Good.
Good.
I'm feeling really good, actually.
Yeah? Oh, look at that, Neil. You just resubbed. You know what, Neil? You resubbed. And that resubbing right there makes me so excited. I would like to make an announcement. Not a small announcement, but a big one. An unfunny announcement. So I would like to go ahead and announce that starting in a few weeks' time, we are actually going to be officially having a community campaign in the False Pretenses community. It's going to be taking place on Tuesday evenings, where we're actually going to have the glorious Dungeon Master, Josh, it's actually a funny one, is going to be DMing a campaign that takes place in Aurorum, wherein every week I'm going to be a PC, and all of the other weeks, it's going to be... One second. All of the other weeks, it's going to be everyone else is going to be able to sign up to join on and have fun. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to spend too much time sitting here and talking about it today, because you can all check it out, check out, learn about it, whatever, by going on to the False Pretenses Discord. I'll make sure that when this YouTube video goes up, immediately down below, you'll see a link to get. There always was one there, but I'll put it at the very top of the area for you to see, because inside there is a channel called Community Kingdom, where Josh already has some of the statements made for everybody. So I don't want to waste any more time. Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited with the story arc that he put together. He already gave me all of the cheaty codes, so I already have the best character possible in every way. That's right, mine's done. And I'm looking forward to what we have putting together. We can go over the details some other time. For now, we're here to play Pathfinder Kingmaker with our boys. And I think last session left off with some really interesting shit happening. So we'll talk more about that after the session is over. But I'm just really excited to announce it, and to say that at some points in time, PCs from the various Aurorum games that we have going on will be joining on to play sessions here and there. Because, you know, Neil loves staying up to 2 in the morning to start a session.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the announcement. Josh, you missed some commas in there. Just saying.
Your English is the wrong English, and Josh is smarter than you.
You realize that commas don't differ between our languages?
I 100% understand. Yeah. Punctuation. Well, there is the Oxford comma. The Oxford comma being the one wherein, if you list 3 things there, so they'd be like if you're saying apples, bananas, and oranges.
Do you not put a comma in between?
You do not put a comma after bananas and before oranges, before the ampersand or the word and.
For the second to third, you put and rather than a comma. Yeah.
You do not put a comma. It's an Oxford comma.
Yeah, you put an and.
Yeah. Oh, fuck Oxford.
Well, I mean, just saying.
We got football up in here. Like real football, not. Like even the Australians are like, yeah, your football sucks. That's why we play Australian football. So,
you mean football?
AFL sucks.
Actually, what do you guys call it? What do you guys call? Is it Australian rule, or you have a phrase?
Yeah, I don't like that. There's rugby league and rugby union, but rugby league's better.
No, I thought you guys had special rules for playing soccer or football.
Yeah, we had. Oh, you're talking about
football?
Yeah, football.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't you guys have special rules because you think that the Queen's rules are terrible?
I don't know.
Do we? How does he know how his rules differ from your rules?
I don't care to look it up right now.
Because we don't know your rules.
No. Sorry, let me phrase this slightly differently. I thought Australia had their own football rules, not football.
You get full citizenship.
Yeah, that's right. Oh no, Josh. Neil's like, I don't know. This could be where I actually bring Rayron. You seeing opportunities there. Oh, God. Oh.
You can't stop me if I'm a full citizen.
Anyways. All right, so what do you say we, by the way, or am I the only one? Nope, that's my problem. All right, let me fix the daddy issue. Oh.
God damn it, Scott.
Well, no, what it is I have to disable it for the Friday game.
Oh, I'd like to point out, not point out, question actually. I meant to mention the other day is I've not had a chance to catch any regicide. Is it 5e?
It is.
Ah, so we're the only ones on Pathfinder. How's that make you feel, Jake? We're both the kings and the only ones on Pathfinder.
Well, you're not because
I really like Pathfinder, so
the Patreon games on Pathfinder.
Oh well, have fun with that.
I have been. I mean, they have been too. And speaking of what happened to the Patreon game, why don't we get started with this one? So last session, Neil, would you like to recap us exactly where we left off? Like a minute recap or less.
So could I have the map back?
Oh, my apologies. Absolutely. Give me one moment. And
That will help with my spiel.
Yeah.
I'm just.
In fact, actually, can I
Chat. If
I can
you
get the
see
map.
me lean back like this, my chair's broken, so there's no support. So I will be doing this periodically.
It's actually not true. The reason why Tesh is not here is because he's down there.
Wow. Get out of here, Tash.
You're
They're on to
Tesh, stop. not on Twitch. Poor Tesh. I hope he finds this amusing. Right, okay. So we were in Kurzful after the information about how Gwen had been distributed. We had a meeting with our advisors, and we decided there were several actions we needed to take, one of which was setting a field of battle, which is dictated on the map, which would be south of Reed, north of Harad. We also decided it would be important to secure the support of other cities, towns, cities or towns within the country. To that end, we will be probably going to Varen at some point today to secure horses. One went to Reed, where he had overwhelming success at his diplomacy with a young lady. Elliot went to Forban. We've not heard how that went. And Rayrin went to Loshev for a reasonably good set of diplomacy. And the councillors from Loshev have traveled back to see Kurzful. And one has also traveled back to Kurzful, where we encountered the Arcane Congress had come to call. Rayron wasn't there at the time, and one had to deal with them alone, which he did so with extreme diplomatic elegance. He outmaneuvered them at every stage, and they left feeling dejected, and in fact left a little present for us all. In the form of an arcane eye, something like that. But it lets you hear as well, so maybe it's sensor, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, these little Nomi bastards will be returning at some point in the month, at which point we will deal with them.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Neil. So with them having gone out and the two of you having reconferred about it and whatnot, you were hoping to have a conversation with Valorant about the whole situation, try to come to a an understanding. Why don't we pick back up with I suppose maybe another day would have passed the next morning, because it was kind of later in that day anyways when you guys were having that conversation, remember correctly, because you had just returned, long travel, you have diplomats with you, the people that you have to entertain and kind of like work along with, as you said they were being from I'm terrible at names, Loshev. So why don't we pick it back up with you guys having gotten a night of rest and relaxation after a little bit of light entertaining with the other peoples. To have handled that entertaining for your guests, were both of you there, or Jake, like you had said beforehand, you want to maintain a very light presence and allow Neil to do this?
Yeah, it was more to let Rayron kind of take the lead. One came in and was religioning it up at stages. But that's about it.
I religion things up all the time, you know what I mean? It's get religious with it. So you sorry. So Neil, why don't you do me a favor, because obviously this is going to be rolling for how things kind of like went last night. Why don't you roll me a knowledge nobility for maintaining composure and bits of conversation you're going to have with these lords, and then also roll me a diplomacy check for your actual, like, again, maintaining composure and so on and so forth.
If it is the last night too, I would be there. So I don't know.
It's the last night. It was just the last night. They're
Okay.
coming into
Knowledge.
the next day.
Knowledge, nobility.
Oh, sexy as fluff.
Yay!
You have no ranks.
Diplomacy. Hey.
You have no ranks in knowledge, nobility. So it's one of those things where you know.
I have 1 rank.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Punk.
are you sure?
Yes.
It's just not a class skill.
It's just not a class skill.
Oh.
He's a minor noble. Of course, he has a rank.
Okay, just making sure. So cool. So you actually did get the 23 then. Otherwise, it would have capped out at 10. So you actually, every bit of conversation they had about other peoples, referring to those in Paradel, because they actually have relations with Paradel, so they know the nobles, their things that transpire in their lands, politically and whatnot. You're actually able to follow all of it. And there's even little bits of talks of what happened it's happening in Malta and so on and so forth. But mostly it's about Leshev and about what's going on in Idir. You're able to easily hold conversation with them and get along with everybody very well. I mean, your character is a bit tired, like you had said beforehand, with your terrible role, coming immediately off the road, a bit distracted for a bit, but you kind of pulled it together. You went and, took a shower, got on a different outfit for travel, and dropped a deuce, maybe had a whiskey, and you went out there and you actually did extremely well with them and kind of mingling with them. You left them that evening and informed them that the next day they were going to be getting a tour of the city, or whatever you want to call it, your town. But that you're going to be getting it by other persons, like Kithel will take him at a point in time and so on. Wishing you had a grand diplomat, you don't, but you'll have to make do with what you have while you're handling your situation. The next day, you're going to have you and one, so the two of you coming together to kind of go over the details of what had recently transpired, the gnomes having been there, and where the fluff is where the fluff is Elliot. He's been gone for a considerable period of time. And instead, what you end up finding out is Forvin, when he meets to speak with the nobles, and he comes to kind of like take them off your hands, like dropping your kids off at a babysitter, he says, so Neil would probably immediately approach the nobles. They're kind of like gathering in this area to talk to them. He would actually, "One, may I have a word with you, please, chosen of the blade?"
Yes, Kithel.
Stepping to the side with you so that he can't be overheard with his deep and resonating sexy voice from over yonder.
This isn't in the throne room or anything, is it?
He would, yeah, but he would step to like the other side, like they're up in the front having a conversation. Pushed to the side. Because his conversation with the nobles of Leshev in their throne room, it's very light. It's very like, you guys don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys don't have a care if gnomes see that you're talking to diplomats from Leshev, do you?
Come again? We don't have a care that gnomes see?
Because the scribe.
The Arcane Congress.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so anyways, so he pulls you to the side and he says, "It is about Valoran. As I've informed you before, Valoran went in to look into the woods. Something had caught his attention. We've misplaced him. I don't think there is anything foul amiss. I don't think anything happened to him while he was out there. I've already had scouts look. I just think he, with all due respect, he's Valoran. I'm sure something caught his eye, lost track of time, and he's having the time of his life. Nonetheless, I would like to divert more of our guard from the training we had begun with them and the normal scouting, keeping an eye on the goblins and the like, to go and find our missing lord."
One kind of sneers as he's saying that, and he says, "Please tell me Valoran took guards when he left. He didn't just leave in the middle of the night."
"I will send more guard immediately." He gives like a bit of a bow. Then he turns and walks off. Yeah. And
so one It's like anyone looking over at him would just see he is extremely angry, and he just like is going to kind of storm out. He might go outside and wait for Rayron to be done or whatever's going on.
Kithel goes over, rejoins with Raven, and says, kind of like flashing through that whole conversation, little tidbit being like, absolutely a chosen of the quill. It would be the utmost honor to escort them through the wonderful city of Kurzfall and show them all of the wondrous benefits that our lord and ladies have provided for us. And referring to gods. And he turns and says, will you please accompany me this way? And draws a sword and brings them to their final resting place. No, and brings them through Kurzfall. Without a sword. It's sheathed. He doesn't kill them.
He doesn't even use a sword.
Cudgel. And so he goes off, and when you go looking at one, it's like one of those things where you saw after Kithel talked to one gave you that look like, and so you're like, oh, wife's upset. I guess I better get over there. And you make your way over to one, kind of prepared to hear about exactly what it was that Becky did at work yesterday, and you join up with him.
As you approach, one looks at you and just says, so I've been informed that Valoran just took off by himself. He took no guards, and now they don't know where he is.
Entirely by himself.
That's as far as I know.
That is a problem. It's going to be really difficult to realign the command infrastructure from 3 to 2, sorry. I mean, Valoran's probably dead by now. He's overwhelmingly, yes, he's very Valoran. On the other hand, he does seem to have a way of muddling through. His bag is stocked with a variety of scrolls and potions. He might simply be invisible, hiding inside a tree somewhere. Doesn't exactly sound far-fetched for him.
No, but having new responsibility, leading a new nation, he should not be going off by himself.
Yes, I agree.
Even I took a full complement of guards to Reed.
Yes, and Reed. Yes, no, indeed. You make a very valid point. We'll have to have words with him when he returns, I think.
So what do we do about it?
What is there to be done? We are dispatching further guards to look for him, no? Other than, short of going and looking for him ourselves.
I don't really want to.
It seems that would be a hypocritical plan as well, as we ourselves would be disappearing off into the forest. I would rather not leave the city without leadership for that long, and so Valoran is capable as much as he is not.
One says, kind of stomps his foot on the ground. He says, Valoran is feeble.
Yes, he may be incapable in certain aspects, but you saw what he did to that giant tree. That was one hell of a fireball. He may not be equipped with a wand of such power right now, but he's capable of manipulating magics to a high degree. He's not helpless as much as he is. I feel like
scouts will soon report he's been killed by the goblins or something.
Well, in that case, it would give us an excellent excuse to lead a campaign against the goblins, would it not? He would become a martyr. No, they'll find him. He'll be fine, I'm sure. At any rate, there's nothing else to be done as of now. Simply dwelling on the matter would only serve to stress us all out. come try to enjoy the time that we have here before we have to go and fight something or deal with more diplomats, or worse yet, gnomes.
They're due back sometime soon.
Indeed.
What was it you guys were going to approach immediately at this point? You have so much impending, so much shit going on right now. It's funny. Somebody called me out in, I don't remember if it was Discord or Twitch or YouTube. I don't remember at this point. Somebody called me out. I kept saying, "Winter's coming, Southern Hemisphere. It's December." And I was like, it's because the short version is I haven't come up with names of the months, because when you're naming months in your own world, you don't want them to be obnoxious names that nobody's going to use because they're never going to remember them. So I got to come up with like better names. So it's like fill in months are going to be the real world months for now. It's going into winter. I know winter is December. So this Southern Hemisphere continent is going into winter in December. Oh. Whatever. You get the point. So you're going into the winter month. What would be the equivalent of a December or a July for say, Jake? And, oh God, it's so weird to think of July being winter. I really need to go to the Southern Hemisphere and like one of the extreme, like just to experience it and be like, whoa. Moving on. So you, just realign the brain. It's one of those.
No, I agree. It'd be cool. July is my birthday, and I'm very much used to it being nice weather and certain flowers being flowering at that time.
July what?
7th.
July 7th. Gotcha. My older brother's the 2nd. It's funny because your birthday fell adjacent to one of the sessions, and I was supposed to, but I was like half asleep and totally forgot to like birthday you. But don't worry, you're gonna get birthdayed. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Am I gonna get like a picture of you in a birthday suit? Is that what birthdaying is?
You're gonna meet Trini. So, anyways, it's going into the winter months and everything. So, going into the winter months, you know that you have these goblins not far outside of your town. They might eventually stumble across you. You know you have the owl bears. You know you have Arcane Congress going to be coming back, hoping to have handled it with your companion. It seems like you're going to handle the situation by yourself. And you have the impending problems of Hodgwen. Everything just seems to be going terribly wrong, with the exception of maybe Rid and Leshev. What do you guys approach first?
So, we don't know exactly when Arcane Congress are going to return. So we need to wait for them. Okay. Because we need to deal with that problem, and then we need to deal with the goblins. Mm-hmm. The bugbears, I'm hesitant to... Bugbears, owlbears, I'm hesitant to suggest we can deal with properly.
Okay, so you don't want to leave your city while you're waiting for the gnomes to return. You're just going to have to allow other situations to kind of play themselves out. And you've been gone for a while anyways, so it's probably a good thing that you're here. Cool. Yeah. Love it. So
and with Varen being missing, it's good to solidify our grasp on the area.
So that's actually a really good thing, because that means that you're going to more or less be able to focus your attentions on Leshev, on the fact that I should probably turn on my light, on Leshev. Focus on the fact that they you're trying to build a diplomatic relationship with them. So when you guys come together, you confer, kind of come to this conclusion. It takes probably several minutes for you to agree upon it. Probably bitch about Valorant like one more time, like by himself. Like I don't care if he goes and explores, but bring some guard, and then you would kind of go off your own separate directions. One, you're going to be more handling the actual management of the country, with, of course, Neil's assistance. Neil, you going off and playing diplomat, and, of course, managing the country. And you guys are going to kind of go do those things. I actually will pull something to your attention in a minute, Jake. Neil, going back to you, when you go and deal with these diplomats, working with them, you're trying to show them the better part of the city, trying to show them all that good stuff. But did you have anything in particular that you wanted to show them? I mean, beyond, yes, you're building relationships. Yay. Is there anything particular you wanted to show them, to show off, to give them like a tantalizing reason for why it is they really want to join with you, beyond, of course, commerce and safety?
You keep getting rid of the map.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can leave it on there for you. I do apologize.
I think.
Again, supposedly there's a way that I can make it so the map is all you can always get to it. I just don't know how.
So I've taken them to the shrine to Arenda. I would obviously encourage them / show them to the other shrines
Okay.
of the other members of the Pantheon. I would show them around the ruined castle because it's a castle. It's impressive. Le Chef don't have a castle.
No, it does not. Absolutely not. No.
And this is based on malt architecture, so it's presumably more impressive. And obviously we'd have a wine tasting in the cellar because, you know, these are old men and, you know. I would then consider arranging an appointment with Leon Jaeger if we could attend his mansion and have a formal meal there.
With them?
With them.
Okay, perfect. That's funny. That's actually where I was going to have one probably bring his attentions to, so that he could handle. But having the car that actually is a smoother transition into what I was going to suggest. So why don't you send word out to Leon Jaeger saying that that's going to happen? Like, hey, would you mind? Blah 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 blah. It's of course a well-written word and well-worded letter, and he will gladly acquiesce and invite you to come to. Dine in his home. He does say, because with nobility and whatnot, you give him word early in one day, and he'll be more than happy to provide for you that evening. He has servants, so it's not like he has to scramble to the market and shit. Like, oh fuck, I forgot the toast. So he just sends his servants out to the market to actually go collect what's needed, like his cooks or whatever. It's like he's like super wealthy, but he does have people that work for him, and they'll actually provide you an amazing meal that night. So when you guys go into when you bring him to the other churches, you're gonna of course talk about these different faiths. Not one's faith. One's gonna be able to handle that himself, but you're gonna bring him to the martyr.
The counselors to the martyr, yes.
Would you like to roll me a religion check to handle that?
Sure.
Would you like to also roll for me a diplomacy check for the overall way that things go for the majority of today before this evening?
I'm gonna roll a light dice on that one.
Okay.
It's better than it could have been. There is 0 dice left in the pool.
Actually, there is one more left. I did not add it until prior to until immediately after you rolling that. So it had the little tag in there, so they added and it fuck Neil is what it says. Anyways, so you get a 13 total in the conversation. So again, you're not impressive with this. You just come off as a bit distracted because you have a lot of things going on. One of the people is missing. They ask about the third chosen a few times, and there's only so many excuses you can come up with. Well, they are a bit of a free sort, and there's research they need to do, and you don't know who the fuck he is, man. No. So you
No, I wrote really well in religion. I'm like, yeah, he's adhering to one of his religious tenets. He's gone off into the forest, taken a vow of silence.
During a time of diplomacy.
Oh yeah. This is Valorant we're talking about.
And so it's one of those, like, they kind of question it a bit or whatever. But moving on, so you have these conversations with them. I also need one more check. One, I'm gonna have you roll this one. This is for Kithul. You're actually rolling for what he had done earlier. Yesterday, because we didn't have that rolled yet. Could you roll?
You want me to roll?
Correct. So for Kithul, never mind. I suppose I was gonna have you roll, but I suppose I could just click a button. I'll just click the button instead. I'm sorry. Where's Kithul? I just have to make sure his check is actually diplomacy is. Cool. I just have to trigger onto his character sheet. There we go. Kithul's a nice guy and all. Really is. He's a nice guy. But he's not exactly the best for being diplomatic. It's not what he does. So, anyways, when you had recollected them from Kithul and whatnot at one point in time, they seemed a bit like, okay. So things overall aren't going the greatest this day. But they're not going poorly because you've set them up so well until this point. Eventually, you're all come to dinner
I did start off well with a 19. It's fine. It's fine.
at Leon's house. When you go to Leon's estate, I should say, when you go to the Jaeger estate to speak with Leon, the former general, things kind of take a bit of a turn. Leon himself he can compose himself pretty well in front of others. He can compose himself pretty well, but beyond that, it's literally the conversations he can have. At one point in time, conversations turn towards the things that he's done in the past and how he's handled them. And he talks as an old general and talking about the merits of war and so on and so forth. But it's about loyalty and the service of the people and not about the glory of combat. And he really comes up very well with them. And the fact that he has come from lands afar and the experience that he has to have settled here, you can tell that at some point in time. Roll me sense motive, the two of you.
Am I there?
Sense motive.
Oh,
I think so, yeah.
You are there one, but it's fine because he rolled well enough for the two of you. So you do get the idea that they come off as, is this man a charlatan? They are also somewhat, really like a general, like a high ranked general. Not just like, oh, he's got a star. He's got like a few stars, and he's sitting here and is retiring in this small little. But as time goes on, they're convinced. They're 100% convinced of the fact that he is very much the real deal, and impressed by the fact that you've been able to kind of allure somebody like this to reside in your home. And they actually inquire as to what his position is within the countryside, and he simply says, "I'm just a retired man looking to rest his head and relax, perhaps finally rear a family of my own." And kind of things from there go on. Eventually, the night kind of fades away, and they look to go get tucked in and have lullabies sung to them. And Neil, being the one that's chasing after them and being the point diplomat, will end up leaving the estate with them, with many thanks and shaking of hands and hugs and the like. And yes, of course, keep the bottle. It's and blah 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 blah. That sort of stuff happens. One is, of course, able to leave as well, but one has not spoken to Leon since that time that since you helped to build his estate literally with him, hand in hand, brick and mortar, and bleeding, cussing, and whatnot. The two of you actually have the best relationship out of the three with him, and the conversation was literally put on the table today about whether or not he's working for the kingdom. It's not a good enough opportunity as any, unless one would rather wait for a time where his other companions would be there, as they're all leaving.
Leon,
Yes.
do you mind if I stay a while?
Stay a while and listen.
We did open that bottle of sherry that didn't seem to go over well with the others. Perhaps we can have another glass.
I think that'd be a good idea. Just quickly, while I was building his house and stuff, because I was not sure about him. Can I make a check? So during that time, kind of getting to know him, how I feel about him.
Yeah. Do you want to roll for hotness? Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, sure.
Is this like a
no.
brown chicken brown cow
Is
roll?
this Dream Daddy? Let's go.
Yeah. Hello. Dream Daddy. So.
No. Yeah, because he's a practitioner of Lady Erebel, but he's not openly worshipping, which was the rules. Mm-hmm. So one was a bit funny about him, and half the reason he offered to build the house was to kind of get a gauge on him,
stare at him.
Anything else. So during that time, I can either make a roll or whatever you want to do.
Absolutely, you're welcome to roll an insight, and I will tell you that you have a +5 because the amount of time that you'd spent with him and depth of conversation and whatnot. I mean, you're just a young whippersnapper to him, but nonetheless, you are somebody of quote-unquote lordship.
Okay.
That's that quote unquote boy.
Sure.
The +5.
So 27.
Nice.
Are you happy? Are you happy with your 27, or do you want to see if you can get that sweet, sweet, sweet 30?
We only have one left dice, so no.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go on. Roll a 1, Scott. Do it.
It's up to you. I mean, are you sure? You might one might roll a 3.
I don't know. I feel like 27's fine.
Okay.
27's fine. He's going to roll one of his daddy's dice on it, but that's fine anyway because he'll roll a 1.
You roll a 4.
Oh, I'm not gonna roll a daddy die on 27. How much am I really gonna impact it? It's like when it's on the teetering edge that I can push you off the cliff. That makes it worthwhile to me. So, anyways, moving
Little
on.
monster.
So you got a good reading off of him. You honestly think that this is a genuine guy that's just looking to relax and retire. It's not that he's afraid of combat or war or anything like that. It's just his whole life has been war for so long. He seems like he's just looking for a bit of a change. Also, the tone of the war that he had before, as we've discussed, was very different than what probably his ethics would want the tone of war to be. So he's fine. Yeah, everything's good, man.
Okay, sweet. I just wanted to fix that up before we continued.
Okay. So you go ahead.
Yeah, so we have another drink, and one just says, Leon, there's a storm coming, Leon. No, he's like, I think there's going to be some trouble soon, Leon. And hearing you talk earlier, brought it to my attention that we haven't actually spoken much about if you're interested in helping out with the running of the kingdom. There is... I'd stop as he goes to speak.
No. He waits. It's more of he opens his mouth but then closes it.
Yeah. I believe war may soon be upon us, and it is not something we want, but something that I believe we cannot avoid. Hod Gwen has started expanding rather aggressively, and while we aren't exactly close to them, I believe they will absorb the nearby towns soon. We've actually sent out some emissaries. I myself have been to Reed, Rayron to Leshev, Elliot to Forvin, I think, to try and rally some alliance. But if it comes down to it, while I can fight, I have no experience leading troops or really what to do in a battlefield scenario. I don't believe there is any peace that can be had with Hogwen. They've already tried to kill me, Valoran, and Rayron before the leaders that seem to now have taken control of the city. So I'm sorry to bring the unfortunate news, but I may, if you are open to it, your experience in the matter may be vital.
I knew at some point in time discussion was going to head in this direction. You do not walk around as an experienced person of war and not expect others to want to take advantage of that experience. So I suppose the goals of those looking to utilize your skills, exactly which the skills they're looking to utilize, that impacts the overall scenario. You're incredibly generous in allowing me to build my home, providing all of the materials, and even some of the labor to get it done. I am, of course, more than... What's what I'm looking for? Sorry. Me, Scott, brain, not think. Um, I'm more than appreciative of what it was that you have provided for me thus far. For me to give you an answer, especially one that leans towards what it is that you are requesting, I need a little bit more information. What would be required of me? And what it is that you know thus far. Unless I'm mistaken, in your castle, you have a room with a very well-designed map of the lands. I have to say it's impressive. We had very few of those in our long-standing warlike nation of Paradel. Very few of those throughout the kingdom. The fact that you have one already here is, well, impressive. The craftsmanship required is hard to come by. Perhaps we should grab this bottle, head to the castle, and continue our discussion there.
Maybe we should bring 2.
He will actually chuckle a little bit to that and says, I do have to say, it is not a good vintage. As opposed to drinking shitty sherry. And he'll raise his glass and take another draw from it. And both of you guys are trying to maintain like a non-sour face when you drink it, but it is strong, you know. And so both being men of war and action and whatnot, even though it's not the best of beverages, you can at least appreciate the waste not, want not mentality. And the fact that sometimes the struggle is worth the reward in the end. And you are going to get drunk. The two of you can grab up the other bottle he has of this not so good vintage and continue discussion. Low at points in time, because you don't necessarily need citizens overhearing details, and louder at others as you make your way through the Kurzfall and into your castle, over to that room and to discuss the details. Perhaps even calling to one of your servants to, or one of your subjects, I should say, not servants, to bring reports of what was recently discovered to you. Reports that Dwayne's network were able to find out, and so on. And he kind of looks this over, listens to it, whatnot, and he nods and he understands and kind of gets it. And what much later into the night, as you guys are maintaining this discussion, you guys have chairs that are around the table. Usually you stand around the table for discussions because you can look over it all. So, but you do have chairs that too where you can sit down. So this is hours later on, kind of thinking there, sitting there and thinking, he's like, you know, something seems, so many drinks later, something seems a bit raw about this whole scenario. There are people that want power, people that want lands, people that want to expand. That's always been the case. But Hard Gwen, from these reports, has been stable. The people in charge have done well for years upon years. The ending of the curse. The ending of the curse would make it more feasible for them to have someone rise to power, prominence, and the like. There's no denying that. From what you've described to me. But why are they expanding now? There has to be a further reason for why it is that when they let out a call to arms, people respond. People have to want to come to the call to arms, unless they're slaves being dragged from their homes and handed a sword. They have to want to be. There has to be some sort of internal desire amongst the folk there. Usually when a war is happening, if you could find out the motivation behind the people that fight the war, you can find a way to overcome it without necessarily coming to blows, or at least to destroy the morale, or knowing what it is that sways the hearts this way or that can give you better understanding of how to sway those same hearts on the field of battle.
one kind of slurs his words a bit, and he's like, "Wise words, Leon. Wise words. You're right. We should know what is in the heart of the people."
He's now drinking his sherry from a mug. It's like, God,
At one point, while
trash.
we're drinking, one would have probably just like yelled out to random guards and be like, "Go and get Rayron. Go." In the middle of the night, he'd be like, "Now."
Rayron's actually retired to his room, not realizing that you guys are still up and drinking. So at one point in time, we'll continue in a second, Jake. At one point in time, there was like Rayron's like asleep in his study, and you hear.
Yes, what?
It's of urgent matter, please. Chosen of the Quill, the chosen of the Blade is requesting your. He needs you downstairs in the meeting hall, the advisors' chamber, the war room.
Yes, the map room. Fine, I will be down shortly.
He said that it's urgent.
Good. Yes, I understand. That's why you're knocking on my door at this time in the morning.
He looks out a nearby window. It's still evening. So anyways,
it's gone past midnight. That makes it morning.
I imagine your character does not treat this lightly. It's like one of those like 3 to 5 second moments where you kind of like roll over on your bed, your ass is in the air, your face is in your hands because you've just like dealt with nobles all day. You're just kind of like, fuck. And then you like roll over, hop up, and get ready fairly quickly. I mean, it's not like you're getting in your full garb, but you also
he just puts clothes on.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not walking out there like in your nightgown. And so, but it's literally as you're walking towards the door, like 5-6 paces away from it, you hear.
He just takes a step closer and opens the door. Yes?
It's the same guard standing there. Oh, I hadn't heard from you in some time. I was just making sure that you were coming.
I had to get dressed.
Oh. He's this way. And he turns and starts leading you down the hallway, walking at a much too brisk pace.
Rayron follows, hand on the sword, casually, as it goes down. But there's like, his fingers like playing over the hilt. It's just like, I could. No one would know.
And so you make your way downstairs, and the two of them are sitting there alone. There's no guards or anybody else inside the map room. And the lines we had just said to one another, Jake, my apologies, were the wise words, blah, 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 referring to getting to the heart of the people. And so literally as you're saying that, and he took the sip of the mug and made that like face and puts it back down, he just kind of like stands up and leans over, and he just starts like, so this is what you're walking into. You see Leon, the older man. He's usually very well composed. It's not that he's not composed now. It's you walk in the room, the smell of the bad sherry and just like the somewhat slumpedness of one, and the way that he's kind of like swaying as Leon's like standing, hovering over the table, pointing down at Hodgwen. Within like less than a second, you're like, oh, they're drunk. So you come walking in, he's like...
Rayron walks in, he spots one, he's like, "One, why have you..." And then he spots Leon, and he's like, "Oh, Leon, what a pleasant surprise." And then glares at one. What is it you have woken me for?
So he was standing, hovering over, and kind of like pointing at Hodgwen, and he's like, "Oh, Rayron, please, come. Sit."
Thank you. My thanks again for the fantastic meal earlier this evening.
No, of course. It was my pleasure to host such honored guests. It was an honor to host such... he walks over with his mug. He's like, stone or wooden mug. And he's like glugging sherry into the mug. And then he stands in front of you, probably not sitting yet, but standing over by a chair that you would typically sit in. He's looking between the mug and the bottle, the mug and the bottle. And the mug actually has more sherry than the bottle, and he doesn't want to disrespect. So he hands you the mug that he's been sipping from for who knows how long because there's more sherry in it. And then like as he goes to like hand it to you, he clinks the bottle to it while it's still in his hand and takes like a swig. I imagine you take the mug from his hand.
Oh yeah.
And he
Thank you, Leon.
He using the other chair to like stabilize himself, makes his way back over to the chair where he was at beforehand. One, he had asked you a question.
One says, Raven, I've been speaking with Leon for some time now. And
Yes, I can tell.
we've come up with a plan for Hogwen. Listen, it's all about hearts and minds of the people. Why are they fighting for Hogwen? Raven, why? That's what we need to find out if we're going to win the war.
I see. I suppose you're not wrong.
No.
I suppose we do need to find out. I also suppose there's no way to find out right now. After I've been woken.
We need, Raven, we need to replace Dwayne. There should be somebody on already.
Yes, I agree. We do need a spy master, yes.
He was a keen lad, that Dwayne. He was good to talk to. He would ask questions that were inside of questions. But he was kind of fumbly, so like you knew he was trying to get information from you, but he had a keen wit. He was good. I like him. Is he about? Perhaps he would like a drink.
One yells out, Dwayne!
He's
God! Get
he's traveled.
Dwayne!
Never mind. The chosen of the blade is
Chosen of the bottle, he says, raising the bottle. No disrespect, of course. Yeah.
Dwayne has headed
One
north.
would clink the bottle with the bottle.
Clink.
And they say, oh, yes, Dwayne. That's right. He's gone. Yeah, he's not here.
Indeed. I agree with you. And the sooner we find one, the better.
Yes, Raven. I thought you'd want to be here for these talks. I don't want to be planning stuff on my own, not consulting you and stuff.
The people. It's probably like the fifth time he said it, not realizing that he said it so many times beforehand. Of Hod Gwen have reason to call to arms, and we have to find out why the people are calling to arms, so we know why the people are calling to arms and fighting. And once we know why, because they were, and he kind of like goes through that whole bit that he did, as you already heard, Neil, beforehand. It's repetitive and slurred. This guy is very, like, you're probably blackout drunk. But what he's saying, as you understood beforehand, when you kind of like put it together, like, no, it makes sense. It's just, I really wish I was having this conversation with the sober mind of a military genius as opposed to a drunk old man.
Very well. I agree with your assessment. However, how is it that we're going to find out this sort of information?
Dwayne.
Ryron. This is why we need Leon. Leon, we need you. You need to join the council.
I do agree that having a wise and reasoned voice such as yourself on the council would aid us in many matters. I'm sure you'd be dismayed to know that this very thought hadn't occurred prior to your suggesting it. The wisdom of age is direly required on the council.
He's calling you old.
When you say that, he kind of laughs. Oh, he beats around the bush, does he not? With all due respect, please, chosen of the quill. Your way with words, of course, is matches your title quite well.
Yes.
Like
Shall I speak
staggering.
plainly then, for once?
No, honestly, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. Or it's nice. I've been in the countryside for some time, and hearing a husband call none so gentlemanly to their wife after not cleaning up the cow pies in the field. You can only hear it so many times before you miss the court speech that one grows accustomed to. I would have to say I'd be lying if I was not excited by the opportunity, because you do seem like good folk and not ones looking to wage war but to defend the countryside, and the position of defense is not only favorable to well, the battlefields, because defense tends to lend favor on a battlefield, but it's also something that's a bit more favorable to me.
Yes, you're tired of waging offensive campaigns, and now you wish to protect your home rather than claim new ones.
Yes, those words. And it's almost like the alcohol now starts to like hit him, like you know, you like get drunk and like really drunk, and like you get really, really, really drunk, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm really drunk and not good. Like you can almost like see it happening in his face in this conversation where he's like, I'm gonna need a toilet, you know? And you kind of like see that happening, and he's just like sits down, and like you can tell that while he sits down physically, like kind of a hard slump. His mind, he probably doesn't get to the chair for like a few moments later, and he's like, yes. So, except chosen the bottle's not a taken name, is it? He says, kind of eyes closed, but throwing a smile over it near one's direction.
It's the secondary title.
Guards.
Waving the bottle around.
Sloshing it. A guard that had accompanied you down here immediately comes over to you. He's a bit excitable.
Would you escort Leon, as his leisure, home safely? However, I believe he may wish to stop at some of our lavatories upon the way. If you would make sure he gets home and stay with him throughout the night, or at least make sure a servant of his stays with him, encourage them to make him drink lots of fluids and watch him throughout the night. Wouldn't do well for him to choke.
The guard nods, and it's like a few minutes later, like moments later, like what weird pot. Like he realizes what you said. He's like, no, I'm fine. I'll see myself.
He's fine, right?
See myself home. It is a bit late, and you kind of like you see a bit of light like from the open door coming into like into the actual like throne room itself. A bit of light kind of like starting to peek in, or early at that. Where's my phone? So I can. Here you are.
What? Where's my phone gone?
I was like,
These damn kids! I don't know how to work these touch screens.
No, I had headphones on, and so I'm hearing it through like the microphone, and so I was like, "It's over." It's all in my ears. Anyways, my apologies. He's like, my apologies. He's like, I can. It's a bit early at that. I'll find my way home and and then he gets up without saying anything else and starts like walking out of the room.
Merrin just points to the guard.
Guard nods.
I understand that this is a little bit outside of your usual remit. See me tomorrow, and I will ensure that you are appropriately compensated for the additional work.
So you they go and all that stuff, and it kind of goes off. That leaves you just there alone with one, very drunk, and you very annoyed.
Having fun, one. you seem to have turned him over to our side, so I suppose it's fine that you woke me.
Would you rather I didn't?
Probably yes. I'm entertaining a series of diplomatic talks at the moment, and there's only so much I can talk about in a city that currently is made of several shrines to some gods that people don't really know about particularly well, and a castle. Thank God for Leon, that was a saving grace. Nonetheless, it seems that you've done a good job bringing him round to our side. So I'm merely annoyed as I'm tired, not annoyed with you.
High praise, Rayron. Thank you. And he kind of like, you see him sit back, and he's leaning back on the chair, and his eyes closed. And it's like, it has that moment where he catches himself, and then he says, yes, Leon, he'll be joining us.
Yes, that's for the best, I feel. I'm more confident knowing that we have a veteran general on our side in the coming battles. If there are to be battles, as you say, if we can reason a way out of this, we should. As such, we will need a bright and early start tomorrow, and I suggest you go and break the shackles of being tired by having a good sleep.
That's probably some good advice, Rayron. Thank you.
And drink some water.
At this point in time, as you're literally saying, drink some water, another guard would come walking into the chamber, very hurriedly. Not the same guard. Like, at first, you're thinking like, "Oh shit, what happened with Leon?" Because like you look up at a guard, just like immediately comes rushing back in. And they've recently been wearing uniforms. Like the guards have been getting more of like a uniform look to them, so it catches you off guard at first. Like, no, it's a different guard. Okay, and he comes rushing in and says, "Chosen of the Blade, Chosen of the Quill. I have very urgent news that I think you might want to hear."
You've not found his body, have you?
Who?
No, never mind.
No, but it does pertain to. Please.
Spit it out.
He actually hands you a parchment.
Raven would read it.
Looking it over, I imagine he reads it to himself before saying it out loud. He reads it to himself, and on the parchment, it is actually a letter that you can very quickly identify is coming from Dwayne. The letter informs you that Dwayne had, as promised, head to Varen after he left with the intention of looking into the market of the horses. He says, I have arrived in Varen. I've arrived here in one piece. He says, and then like there's like a comma for the most part. My time in Idir since I've left Kurzfall has been a bit unfortunate. I swung through Hardgwen to check on one final detail, figuring it being my task as the spy master to at least follow through on a couple of tasks that I promised I would before I went off on my own duties. While there, it seems as though Hardgwen had already identified who I was and what my purpose was there. I was captured. I was tortured and brought to the brink of death. I was nearly killed if it wasn't for the happenstance of some passers-by coming to my aid and saving me without having even the slightest clue as to who I was or my purpose of being there. I parted ways with those persons and head to Varen again as I had promised. My letter to you is not only to inform you of what I had said I would in Varen, but also of what I had discovered while I was being tortured in Hardgwen. I was played a fool the entire time I was a spy master. Perhaps a fool for thinking that I was good at my job. They were always 4 steps ahead of me. Every bit of information I procured from them was information they had laid for me. All of it was true, but it was what they wanted me to hear, how they wanted me to hear it, when and where they wanted me to hear it. Hardgwen knows that we are looking into them. Hardgwen knows that we are planning to meet with them because they were watching our network, speaking back and forth to one another. They will be collecting Harrod and Astrad, both completely this upcoming spring, if not beforehand. When they had collected me, I had also procured a bit of information. They had been sending spies of their own and representatives of their own to the local towns to see what it is that they can procure for information, maybe sway them to their side, similar to how we were doing with Rid and Leshev and Forvin. Their reach was also to Rid, to see if any persons of interest were to come through there, Astrad and Harid, as we had expected, as well as Vigil and Forvin. Forvin is the one that I'm concerned about, because Forvin was where you had sent Elliot. While he, I imagine, went with guard, I don't think Elliot is quite as capable as the two of you. With concern for Elliot's safety, I had tasked, to a degree, those that saved me with finding Elliot and bringing him to safety. May the martyr have mercy on Elliot's soul. I hope that I was able to get people to his aid in time. As for the travel to Varen, it was successful, though difficult, without any of my equipments, the horse that you had given me, or anything but a dagger. I was able to lift off one of those that had saved me, and my sneaking out of their camp. In Varen, I made contacts, luckily having had established a relationship with a few of the people here with my travels in the past, prior to our ever meeting one another. We spoke of dealings, and they seem amicable. They did not like the idea of working with Hod Gwen. Apparently bad blood in the past. This will be favorable to us. They are looking to trade horses, but they are not cheap. They will give you favor of selected horses and favor of market over Hod Gwen, but they are not looking to offer any form of discount. They don't see Hod Gwen as being a threat to themselves, even the least bit. At least not as of now. One more detail I'd like to share with you of my travels over towards Varen before I leave the region, and who knows how long it will be before we speak to each other once again. In the region, there seems to be another threat growing. It's just barely to the north and to the west of Varen itself. There seems to be I don't know what to refer to it as, a camp, growing force, more of a tribe than a nation, led by someone by the name of Orsugo, the Burning Blood. Apparently they are a vicious, rage-infused murderer that is looking to wreak havoc in the lands. Not necessarily looking to claiming them for themselves, but simply claiming things for themselves, power for themselves in their own form, their own way. I don't think they're an immediate threat to Kurzfall and to the budding nation. And then there's literally in parentheses, Valoran, question mark, close parentheses, because he wasn't there when you had named it, but apparently I heard rumor of it. But certainly something to keep an eye on to the east. Perhaps Rid will be in danger before Kurzfall is. I hope this letter falls upon you favorably. I hope things aren't too late. And I do hope that one day we do meet again. Thank you for all the opportunities you have brought before me. In closing, I would like to state the loss of my ear, the punctures of my belly, the broken bones, the flaying of the flesh from my chest, and all the other injuries that I have suffered that should have taken my life, but mercy somehow found its way to me, are signs that I gave them nothing. My loyalties were and will continue to be to Kurzfall and to the chosen that have liberated these lands of the curse. And then signed in closing.
Did you read that aloud, Rayron, or to yourself?
He would have probably read it to himself, or like started aloud and then stopped and sped up quicker in his head as things were like, oh. Well, Dwayne was captured, tortured, and somehow managed to escape alive.
One throws the bottle at the wall and stumbles to his feet. Just looks at you.
Apparently there's a tribe of sorts in the northeast of Idir, led by someone to go burning blood. What was it?
Orsugo or Sugo.
O-R...
Does that name sound familiar to me or Raren or anything?
No, not even the slightest bit.
Burning blood tribe.
Actually, you know what? Hard maybe. Why don't you roll me a history check there, Jake? Don't worry about the fact that you're drunk.
Okay.
I'll deal with that.
Nice.
No.
Never heard of no burning blood.
It appears that he managed to survive somehow. I suspect perhaps the protection of the martyr in some aspect. And afterwards he continued on to Varen, even though he'd already given more than he should. And says that they are willing and happy to trade horses with us above Haudgwen, in preference of Haudgwen, however at no discount. The cost will be great, but we can do so. I suggest that we begin making preparations for that straight away. He also says that Harad and Ostrad will become part of Haudgwen before the spring, he suspects, and Forven itself may be riddled with Haudgwen operatives. As such, Elliot is at high risk.
He says once sort of spits, like, while he's talking, he's like, then fuck, was it Forven?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the that? He's like, fuck Forven. He says, we should make a deal with the goblins and give them Forven and for their help. And we should take it. If anything's happened to Elliot, they can all die.
It's not necessarily the fault of the people if Elliot suffers.
No, but the people can relocate. They could come here.
They could come here. However, you are drunk right now.
Goblins dying instead of our own soldier would be good. And he just trails off.
Goblins being used as auxiliaries is not a terrible idea. However, people probably wouldn't take too kindly to the political ramifications of that. If we begin working with monsters, it weakens our position as the good guys, which is currently what we are holding over Haudgwen. And it would be a position I would be keen to keep.
It was only a suggestion.
I would suggest one. That we accelerate the training of the guard and we dispatch a garrison of troops to Reed to keep them safe. I would also be keen to send someone capable of training young men and women of Reed in how to defend themselves.
You know what? Did Dwayne say they'd been to Reed?
They have sent operatives to various places.
The Reed one, I mean, it would take a couple moments for your groggy brain to remember, but you explicitly heard, yep. Remember what you saw? What? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the mayor said she hadn't spoken to anyone, though.
She hadn't spoken to anybody, but the blacksmith said that she had seen people passing through there that she could identify as.
Yeah. So one's brain's just Like, the mayor told me she hadn't spoken with anyone. Maybe she was lying.
Kill her too. Ah.
From what you said of her, that's not the impression I got. This Tally seems naive, young, but a good person. She seems as if she wants to do what's right for her people, and she seems to embrace the legitimacy that you have given her. I would suggest that you visit Reed every now and again to ensure that you maintain a good relationship with her.
Do you think we should make moves to absorb Reed
I think
directly under our control?
we will absorb Reed perhaps by the spring, if Tally is amenable. I wish not to come to blows or generate any negative feedback for this. It would put us in a better position to defend Idir from this Ortugo and form a bulwark against Hard Gwen.
I feel like if Gwen comes to know of this threat, they will ally with each other. One needs to be ended before that can happen.
This Ortugo is merely a tribe's leader, a chief sitting in the forests in the northeast of Idir. He will most likely stay there. There's good hunting, and presumably Varen are worried as to horses make good eating.
Okay. Well, this makes Valoran's disappearance all the worse as well.
Indeed it does. An extra pair of hands would go extremely well.
Well, what do we do now? You've got visitors here still. Well, how long are they staying?
It shouldn't be for too much longer.
And we've got those gnomes coming back, which that needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
This is a lot all at once.
This is fine. We will be fine. One, get some sleep. In the morning, we'll reconvene and we will sort things out.
He gets up and says, I'll see you in the morning. And he just goes off to his room.
Good night, friend.
Good night.
I imagine you have a hard time getting back to sleep there. He can go upstairs, and as soon as he passes out before he hits the pillow. Maybe he has like an orcish moment where he gets into his room and he shuts the door and he starts walking over to like his chamber pot to like maybe take a piss. And then like as he's taking a piss, he has that like riled up like "Yarr!" Like you sometimes just get like when you're just fucking drunk, like you're just so fucking angry and you just can't control yourself. So it's like
when he's having a pee.
Yeah, so he's like
So Scott, guys, Scott gets a terrible burning feeling when he pees, and it makes him roar like that.
No, I was saying it's one of those moments. He's kind of like standing there, just like leaning, and he's just like, ah, just it's like punching the wall while he's pissing, and piss is just going everywhere. Like he's just,
I've never had that. I've never had that. Why would you do that while you're peeing?
Oh, you've never been drunk, man. I don't know. I've had some angry drunks before. I just don't pick fights with people. I pick fights with inanimate objects because that's how you live in a civil society. So I imagine he just like freaks out, just hitting the wall because fucking everything's going. One is a man of action. And there's so much fucking conversation going on and all this shit. And he feels, instead of just being able to hit things with his axe, he's fucking stuck with conversations that don't seem to be getting shit done. And there's an impending threat that he wants to hit with his axe. But unfortunately, it's not close enough to hit with his axe. Like, I can't fucking shoot a crossbow, you know. So it's just, I imagine he freaks out and then he sleeps relatively easily that night because he's so drunk he doesn't even dream. You know what I mean? As for Rayron, I imagine he is actually struggling very hard to even fall asleep. Does he even get any more sleep after this?
Rayron waits until it's light enough to call it very early morning, and then he leaves the castle and he's gonna head out to find Hansa.
Okay, well,
But
I was gonna go ahead.
can we have a break?
I was literally about to say, but we will deal with the morning after this. Sorry, headphone users. I should really make it a habit of when I do that, just put my hand on the microphone, and hopefully that makes it quieter. I hope this sounds tinny and far away for you. All right, we'll be right back.
Oh dear, everything's going interestingly.